And we are live. Just move some stuff around. I should have done this before. And on goes my Xbox. Here we go. Hello, you beautiful people. Today, let's go ahead and get some people in. There we go. I've gone full screen. There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. We're waiting for Max to get on. Hi, Owen. How you doing? Yes, I am racing this weekend. I'll be there tomorrow morning. Yeah, let me... Yeah, I'm going to be racing tomorrow morning. Or not racing tomorrow morning, but I'll be there tomorrow morning for practice. And yeah, we'll go from there. Let's see. Hello, Nitro Freak. How you doing? Let's see. I think Max is doing things right now. So how's everyone's week been going so far? Just go ahead and put it in chat. Doing well? Good. Let's see. Wrenching out some RC stuff? Yeah. After this stream, I'm going to start doing that as well. I got to get ready for this weekend. I still got to charge some batteries and stuff. Still got to charge some batteries. Got to put some things on, or put some stuff up. Yeah, working. Yeah. I was working earlier this morning at like 4 a.m. That's why I got off so early. Let's see. There we go. Case Edwards says, yeah, last day. Oh, it's the last day of school. Just finished up the final. I'm ready for summer on Nitro burning action. Yes, you should be. Congratulations, man. Did you think you did well in the final? Just seeing if you did. But yeah, congratulations on that, man. It's the last day of school. It's definitely a relief. I'm going to be getting ready for my last semester this fall. So yeah, that's going to be fun. And by fun, I mean really stressful. Let's see. See people working their way in. See if I can get... Oh, there we go. Yeah, just waiting for Max to get on as well. Yes, sir. Passed all classes with an A. That's really good. That's definitely better than what I did. At least in high school. Yeah, I did. I was not what we call a good student, I guess you could say. Growing up, I was just really, really lazy until college, and then I kind of got better. But yeah, no summer school is definitely a good thing. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. There is a person who might need some help. His name is Stefan Worthy. Go ahead and... Oh no, we're streaming. Oh, hang on. Let's see. Going live on Facebook. There we go. There we go. Let's see if I can see comments on Facebook. No, I cannot. Yeah, I've just been getting ready for this coming weekends. I know the Roar Nats, the Fuel Nats are going on right now. In Silver Dollar RC Raceway up in, I think it's Chico, California. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna be working on the other War Nats for 10 scale, the Dirt Nationals. This weekend is the warm-ups for it at Hobbytown Columbus, the Yard. So we're gonna be working towards that. After that, we're gonna be getting ready for the actual Worlds. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, now we're just waiting for some people to arrive. I guess he's getting ready for what's this called? I guess he's getting his thing ready. Let's see. Let's see here. I'll let him know whenever he's ready. So we'll be Blue Groove Motorsports. Oh, hey man, how you doing? Texas in the house. Yep. Well, Texas is hard to miss. It's a pretty big state. How you doing, man? You doing good with that fifth scale as well? I know it's pretty big out in the Midwest. It's not here because, you know, space and money. Yeah. Let's see. If you guys have any questions or anything like that you want to ask, go ahead and put them in the what's it called, the chat as well. Yes, thanks for this. No problem, man. It's I like seeing some of your videos as well. Let's see. I think he's almost ready. There we go. Can't post comments to some destination. That is weird. No problem, man. I really, honestly, I can't do this without any of you guys, like, at all. So I have to, basically, I'm thanking all of you guys for supporting me for so long. But yeah, it's definitely able to, well, be able to do this. Hello from Europe. What part of Europe, X-Tech? What part of Europe are you calling from? Or, I guess, watching from? There we go. Looks like he's going to be late. What part of Europe are you from, X-Tech? Norway, Max, and we're still waiting for Max. Oh, wait. Sweden? Nice. Hang on, he just messaged me. Oh, it looks like he is joining now. Seeing you recently gained so much deserved support from A-Main Hobbies. Yes, I did. They reached out to me. It's funny, it actually went to my spam folder initially. So they sent me 2 emails, and I checked my promotions, and I'm like, yes, I do want to be affiliated. It's fun. But yeah, it was really oh yeah. I did get some support from A-Mains. But yeah. Greg says, hello from Norway, Max and Roach. We're still waiting for Max, but he should be in a second or two. And yeah, XXX from Sweden. Well, we'll get someone from Scandinavia on here soon. So that's good. But yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Group layout, crop layout. Yeah, group layout is what we're going to go for once he joins. But yeah. Sup from Southwest Florida. I'm guessing that's Southwest Florida. Thanks for all your hard work in the community. Helped me out a ton getting back into racing. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. It's good to see lots of more people. I've been seeing a lot more people get into the hobby like recently. With like after a long break, it seems, and that's really good to see. But yeah, it's great to see you, Gaines RC. It's really good to see you. And we got Colin Anderson saying, "Racing spec slash this weekend. Is it shady to seal the diff up with fill with heavyweight fluid?" I have O-rings and gasket material. I probably wouldn't, to be honest. Oh, there he is. To be honest, I would recommend just sticking with like the stock slash for like reasons. But yeah, just stick with the stock stuff for now. And we got hello. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Had some technical difficulties, but
That's
finally
okay.
here.
Finally here. Well, I had some. Have you been seeing the seating rounds for the fuel nat so far?
I haven't been watching yet, but they have been running, right?
Looks like it looks like this camera is static so far, like at least for now. But I'm looking at the seating rounds, and it looks like I know you don't care about Truggy, but I don't think they've run everyone for Buggy yet, unless Justin 2 and Lee Setzer are really that good. Long is in 6, by the way.
Yeah, they seem to be missing a few hits still. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's quite a few hits missing.
looks like a lot of people are missing. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and a lot of people who didn't seem to go at all, like missed the whole event. At
Yeah.
least judging from Facebook.
Who's because I'm looking at, just looking at Truggy to see who's actually there. It looks like Rivkin, Dakota Fan, Lutz, Tebow, Mason Fuller, Drake. Drake is beating Mayfield right now, so that's funny.
Yeah, yeah. I think I mean the thing about the sort of more classical format or the IFMA style format, as people call it, also is that you get so much track time that in the beginning it doesn't really matter where you're standing.
Yeah.
It's like you get, I don't know if they do only 3 qualies or more, but you get so much more track time, and kind of no matter how bad you're doing in the start, you'll get there in the end.
Okay. Well, I
That,
have
that's
some.
that's like compared to DNC, where you kind of first time you properly go out, it's a qualifier. At this
Yeah.
point, you have two or three qualifiers, and then the practice round you might get one, might get two, if you're lucky. So
Yeah. That's kind of the reason why I haven't gone to a lot of larger races, like for example DNC or Psycho Nitro Blast, because like I enjoy hanging out with friends, but I also like driving my RC car.
yeah, and
And
I think
I
yeah,
don't want to wait an hour in line.
yeah, that's like obviously I beat this horse to death how many times already, but to me, like the biggest issue with these big races is that you still have to pay a lot of money just to get to go there, So like if you compare some local series like the Florida what is it called? I think Florida Off-Road Championships or something like that. The one
Mhm.
hosted by um
I think I
what
know what
was
you're
his name?
talking
I'm not.
about, but
Yeah,
I forgot his
Keenan
name.
went there just a
Yeah.
bit before. Lance McDonald, he's the one who
Yeah.
hosts the series. So, for example, that series you have an entry fee of like Florida RC Championships. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you pay like 60 euros, I believe, is the entry. It could be even lower, but it's way below 100. And you get like 2 rounds of practice, 3 days of three rounds of qualifying. You get proper finals, and it's only basically like a 2 day event. So you get much more for your money there.
Then
So like
going
to
to like
me,
then going to
yeah,
like a bigger event, basically.
yeah. So if the like I would understand the big race, argument if it was just about hanging out. If they dropped the entry fee and maybe make something that would actually make it more worthwhile to hang out there. Because right now all they're doing is they're just putting on a club race and making it sound like a huge prestigious event, and then people go there, kind of like the modern fashion where Champion used to be like the brand you buy from like the lower cases of Walmart, and now
Mhm.
kids are paying 400 euros for a T-shirt from
Yeah,
Champion.
that
That's
seems a
that's
bit
like
stupid.
exactly what's happening with the R series. It's just about because it's called PMB. It's something crazy. Well, okay, PMBs might be a bad example because they actually do stuff that other races don't do, like all the monster stuff, the rocket jump and stuff like that. So PMB is actually one of the races who does it kind of how it should be done. There's more activity there than just the race. But I think DNC is probably one of the worst. The only better thing about DNC compared to some of the East Coast races is that they have like they don't have open practice because that's something I
Oh yeah,
despise.
that is. Yeah, speaking of open practice, I think that's what's going to be, or I guess controlled practice is what they're doing this weekend. They're doing the Roar Nats warm up at my local-ish track. It's about 2 hours away from me. At Hobbytown Columbus, and it's gonna be. I know Dustin Evans is gonna be there. That's probably why he's not at um, what's this called? The Fuel Nats.
Yeah,
But that's what we're gonna be
but yeah,
doing
I
this
don't
time.
think he races Nitro.
He doesn't
I
race Nitro.
remember he tried it a few times, but he barely made the quarters of the World Nationals. So I think he
Uh,
quit after that.
we also got a question from my good friend Case. Quick engine question: how to tell if a bottom end is too lean? Now I know
So
you like to get very technical. You are free to
yeah,
do that here.
yeah. So basically, the easiest way to do it is let the car sit on the bench, like tune the car so that the idle is nice, so the idle is low and steady, and then just let the car sit for like a 30 seconds. I do it a minute sometimes to like till the end, but if during this time the bottom end, no, the idle rises up, it usually means your bottom end is too lean. Or if the bottom end goes like so low that it ends up flaming out, then it's usually too rich. And then like if it stays nice, the idle stays nice, and then you accelerate after, and the engine just like is so rich, then like it's the bottom end. So basically, just keeping the car on idle and seeing what happens then is how you sort of know what's wrong with the bottom end. Obviously, if the engine is like everywhere tuned wrong, then you might get some wrong conclusions. But to me, the absolute best way is to drive the car on track and then tune it a little bit. Like if you feel like you don't have power on the straights, you lean it from the top. If you feel like the car is running on, you reduce idle or maybe reduce lower end, rich in the lower end. And then when you got it around to the feeling which you like, then you just do that test where you let the car sit. You can just drive onto the pit lane, let it sit for 30 seconds, a minute. And I usually do it so that I let it there sit for a minute. And when I leave, it should feel like it's a little bit rich, but it should still leave there nicely. But if the idle starts to rise during that time, it almost always tells you that the bottom end is too lean. Because oftentimes it's kind of hard to spot if the top end is a little bit too rich, but the bottom end is a little bit too lean. You just feel like the engine doesn't have much power, but on the track it sounds about right. It doesn't sound like too rich. So the absolute best way is to do the test where you just let the
Okay.
car sit and then go after a while.
See, Keenan, that wasn't so bad, was it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Keenan has some bad memories of me going on for like 10 minutes about some
Uh,
roll center stuff. So I
well,
think he's
roll center is like well, to me, a mystic art that I'll never fully understand. Eventually, I
yeah,
will.
and the thing about roll centers is that it doesn't really tell you anything on its own. And like as soon as the car moves even a slight bit, it's already very different again. So even though the static roll center is one thing, the dynamic roll center is another.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Nitro Freak saying Psycho Nitro Blast is one of the funnest races out there, I'd say. I've never been, so I can't judge. But what do you have to say? I know you're about to say something.
Yeah, the thing is like it really depends what's the angle you're going there for. If you're going there for just to hang out with friends for like for what you call it, basically it's a 3 day race. So basically, if you're just going out there hang out with your friends for 3 days, it's definitely a fun race. You can stay there. There's someone at the track pretty much 24/7. Um, and so on. But if you're going there for a race, like, hey, I'm gonna take my RC car and go race somewhere to have fun with my cars, then yeah, it's definitely not that much fun.
Hmm.
It feels more like an endurance race at times because you have a qualifier at 10 a.m. and then you have a qualifier at 1 a.m. So basically, you just have to be like, hey, I'm gonna get my car ready, then head straight out to the hotel, and then come back from the hotel and race again. So it feels more like an endurance race, competitive wise. But if you're just there to hang out, yeah, it's definitely fun. There's a pretty good atmosphere there.
Okay. Well, couple people in the chat have been talking about running slashes, basically. And I wanted to get your opinion because a lot of people have been saying about like how the slash is the end all be all for like entry level RC racing. I
Hmm.
wanted to know like what would you consider a good way to get into like actual racing rather than would it be a slash? Would it be something else? Would it be something used?
Well, it really depends on your local area. Like, because if you're running on a track that is outdoors and it's a little bit bumpy, a little bit dusty, then you really need a four-wheel drive car. Like two-wheel drive slash, you just can't drive it around there. It's too difficult. And also due to the bodies, like if it has any like stones or a little bit like that, all the armor and the 4x4 slashes too, they all always get somehow a little bit stuck.
Mhm.
So I in those conditions, I'd say like you should really get one of those e-buggies, like let's say Typhon. That's like the perfect car because the 6's Typhon, even if you're like, hey, I really like this, you can go and race at DNC with Typhon. There's no reason why you couldn't. And the thing is, that thing is more durable than most like 8 scale buggies out there. It's fast. I've seen people like drive fast with it. I've driven a few. So that is something that if you only have like an outdoor track an 8 scale outdoor track that's even a little bit rough, then 100% go for a Typhoon. It's a little bit more expensive, but with that you can actually go race almost any big race in America.
Mm.
Then the other scenario is if you have an indoor facility and it's like a really small track, a clay track, then the RB10, the associated RB10 two-wheel drive car, that's absolutely the best car because from what I've seen, it's durable as hell. It's basically a tool. Well, it is a two-wheel drive. Yeah, it's a rear motor, but it's a two-wheel drive. There's most likely going to be other similar cars out there, and you'll definitely get a good start with it.
Okay. But yeah,
But I
also,
think the issue with Slash and the Arma sentence is that there really isn't any racing class for them. Like it's it's pretty much like if you buy one, you're gonna be racing against Slashers and sentence. And
yeah.
if they're the only reason when, in my opinion, it is worthwhile is if there already is like a big community of those cars in your club, you know. But if you are sort of a guy who doesn't really know the club yet, or there isn't a clear thing of what everyone runs at your local venue, then if it's outdoors, the Typhoon, if it's indoors, the RB10. Those two,
Okay.
in my opinion, have proven to be really good choices for even competing against like mid-motor cars. If you're a beginner, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, because I'm expecting to see not at this race, but I've seen a few at my local track as well. Mostly Typhons. But yeah, my other question to you was a little bit off a different, or a little bit different. This BJ came up. Looks like Lefty is flying solo this weekend. I was actually going to ask you how you guys actually met, like how you, Lefty, JQ, all of you guys sort of started.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So me and JQ, we met like what was it, 2010, I think. Yeah. So with JQ, I met through because he was already like a fast driver. I started racing in 2008 in the winter, and then my
Mhm.
first like 8 scale season was 2009 summer. So Joseph was obviously a fast driver then. So I knew about him already then. And I guess like I can't remember, I was 9 back then or 8 back then. So I don't remember. But then 2010, my dad, it was actually a funny coincidence because he was getting home from work and he just happened to be close by to the track. And Joseph was there testing then the prototype, one of the first prototypes of the JQ Racing the car. And
But
then, so yeah, my dad was just like, "Oh, what's the car?" And they started talking about it. And then Joseph, like, I guess, showed him about the car. And then I guess a month later, was the first round of Finnish Nationals. And Joseph had to break in an engine. Uh, so it was like the Friday before the Finnish Nationals. They are one day races on Saturday. So I drove his car to break in his engine for like an hour. You know, so that was that was one of our first like contacts. And
interactions.
yeah, and then during the summer, my dad and him, got more close, and at the end of the summer, I already ran the prototype at 2 races. Um, so when he finally ended up releasing the car in 2011, I obviously started running JQ, and then from there on out, I've been running his car, and then I was obviously one of his team drivers for a long time, and we ended up traveling across Europe, and that's how we got more close, and so on. And then Keenan, this was actually a funny story. I had to go to, well, we was going to DNC in 2018, so that was like I flew together with one Finnish driver, Jonas Hyvärinen.
Hmm.
I flew together with him, but we didn't have any ride or anything from the airport. So Joseph was like, hey, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm gonna pick you up. And then right before we landed, Joseph was like, oh yeah, Keenan's gonna pick you up. So I was like, okay, I know about Keenan. Like at the time, he was only the team manager of JQ, so nothing like he wasn't anything with the podcast yet, so just JQ team manager. So
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I didn't have his number, nothing, I just knew kind of who he was. So then he picked us up, and then yeah, LA traffic. We ended up talking for like 4 hours in the car before we got to Thunder Alley,
Yeah, that's
and
yeah.
yeah, and since then, I've been talking to Keenan quite often. And so yeah, DNC 2018, that was the first time we met. And yeah, since then, like all the podcast stuff, when the first episode of the podcast ran, I used to help him with like topics to talk about, like who is gonna have a good guests. I was kind of just helping him around with all the kind of stuff with the podcast. And since then I've been kind of here and there involved in the podcast in the background. But since a few years ago, I ended up becoming like the co-host because JQ was couldn't make it every week. So then now I'm kind of the co-host with Keenan.
Yeah, because JQ's like semi-retired now, right?
Yeah, I mean
Or at least he says he is.
he's retired from trying to be a professional racer. He still
Okay.
races, but he's he, for example, last weekend at the Finnish Nationals, he was pitting for Pekka and so on.
That's another question I was going to ask about not just Finnish, but Scandinavian RC as a whole. Like, obviously, me, American brain, me thinks snow all the time in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Um, so, like, what are usually like the seasons that you guys usually race? And do you guys have any like dirt tracks or anything like that for 10 scale indoor? Or actually, that could apply to Europe in general. Um,
Yeah, so 10 scale indoor on clay, there has been a few tracks that tried to do it, but it's too difficult. It's a little bit too moist, the weather. So the humidity is too high and also like our building codes are quite a bit more strict than in America, like all
mhm.
across Europe. So basically the issue is that due to the humidity, the all of the structures should need to be made to a certain standard so that they could be guaranteed that they last. And that makes it that buildings like that is going to be too expensive and it's just not possible to do. So basically it's just half money and half the sort of the building code, like because we have much tighter on that. That's why
Yeah.
there's no dirt tracks indoors. But to the season thing, we we do race all year round, like, but outdoor season is only from I'd say beginning of May, end of April to mid September. So that's one like crazy thing about like the Finnish people and Scandinavian people is uh, David, like Runfolk. He's obviously from Scandinavia, and Pekko even and Joona Haato, and these guys, like they've gotten results at the European top level, but we only have a season where it's like a few months,
Yeah.
and
So
from
you
those
have
few months even it's rain. So I don't know. I don't really know what it is, why that ends up happening. Like, how do we get so high skill level with so short season? But yeah, for the winter we're on touring, we're on 10 scale. Like the good thing about Finnish weather kind of is that it forces everyone to run a little bit of everything. Like everyone runs like almost every class here.
because you want to take advantage of the good weather, and when the bad weather comes around, you have to run 10 scale.
Pretty much, yeah, and also like touring, like most most top drivers run touring cars here on the winter and 10 scale, so they run
Okay.
like a lot of classes. But then we don't run truggy, we don't run stadium truck, none of that. So
I'll get
only
back
like
to the
my classes.
I'll get back to the truggy bit in a second or two, but I got two questions from this one. It's supposedly for me, but I'll ask this for both of us. What's our day jobs? So for me, it's probably nothing insane. I'm both in school. I'm off for the summer, but I'm a full-time student at Atlanta Metropolitan College, and I work at two different jobs. Not A main. Publix, supermarkets, and AutoZone. I just deliver
Okay.
parts, basically. There's nothing too insane. But what about for you?
Yeah. So I am school full time as well. Now for the summer, I'm off from school. So basically, I do kind of everything when when I have the time. Like I've been doing some CAD design for some companies. Then I've been helping out a hobby shop here in Finland, one of the biggest hobby shops with the promotional stuff and some RC stuff also that I do that I get some money from, you know. But mostly just like anything I can. Like right now, for example, I'm organizing like the Finnish championship series for 8 scale. Like I'm coordinating with the organizers, race organizers that making the schedule for the series, rules, everything like that, and trying to also improve because it's a difficult situation. Like with obviously the economy isn't doing too great, so
Mm,
people are first cutting from their hobbies. So we're trying to make it so that people wouldn't stop racing RC, or we can make it as fun and worthwhile as possible. So that's something I've been really trying to work on. Find anything we can do. But yeah, on top of like that, I do try to race myself. And then yeah, so going to school. I also have a few courses during the summer, so I
yeah,
hope to graduate in time and do all kinds of RC shit at the same time.
yeah.
Yeah, and also I do the
Yeah.
podcast. Like I do some stuff behind the scenes too that people may not see, but yeah, that takes some of my time too. I try to do a lot of things pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I'll also say on my end as well, the YouTube, I get money from YouTube, both from Patreon and YouTube, and my affiliate link with A-Main. So that definitely has helped, like fund me even doing this in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, that's something also like I would really like to do YouTube as well, but it's just it takes so much time to do what I kind of want to do, and then I kind of have to prioritize something.
Yeah.
YouTube is
You
something
got
that I
you
would
got to adult.
enjoy to do. Yeah.
And the next question is from Gaines. This is for both of you. What's the best approach or path to sponsorship? 50% in full chassis sponsorship. So for me, I'm not technically sponsored like on the track by A-Main. I'm sponsored via YouTube. So that's one way. But also, to be honest, it doesn't have as much to do with your results. I mean, obviously they matter, but for most of the time, like I know people who are sponsored who almost never race to begin with, mostly because they're such good ambassadors for their brand.
Hmm.
But what about
Yeah.
you?
Well, if you're after just a sponsorship, obviously going for brands that are not that big, that always helps. Like if you just want a sponsorship, but I think it's more valuable to get sponsored by a hobby shop. So that's something that I think would do well is especially if they sell online, like get sponsored by a hobby shop and then just do the best job you could ever do to, uh, like,
Always support your local hobby shop.
yeah, and also like promote that hobby shop online, and because it kind of could be a thing where I know a lot of people who they maybe do some odd jobs for the hobby shop and then they get sponsored by the hobby shop. So that's one thing, if you're tight on money and you would like to get some help with your RC equipment, it might be the best to go to your hobby shop and be like, hey, can I do something for you and you give me a product as a result of it. That's probably like the one place to get that. And then because the main thing is that if you want to get sponsored by, let's say, AE or TLR, one of these big brands, if you want to get a straight factory sponsorship with like full chassis sponsor, you're gonna have to have some good results. Like you're gonna have to make some pro, like, well, 8 scale, you gotta make some like pro B mains, probably something like that, or at least win like big intermediate races.
You got
It's
to
not,
get good.
yeah, it's like if you want something like, as a sponsorship, you either have to be really, really good on social media, uh, or you have to like help the hobby shop out in a way where you maybe if they have a track, you go there and build a track for them and they help you, something, anything they can need help. Or then you just like use the best products you can get and hope that your level improves enough where a company start to notice.
Preferably both.
Yeah, preferably like all of those three. That's
Yeah.
probably like the best combo. But yeah, like those three are the main ways, because you are not gonna get a full chassis sponsorship unless you have like an amazing reach online, or um, then you like work at a hobby shop full time. That's one way. I know a lot of people who work at a hobby shop full time, and then the hobby shop as a sort of employee benefit gives them a product, let's say a few $100 worth every month or whatever. And then the other part is like you have to be good enough to some extent, and I don't know how it works in America, but in Finland it's basically like pretty much all hobby shops offer their employees some kind of at least discount, or they even offer like a full free product if they like ask for it. It depends, but that's definitely one way to do it. And then if that's the case, you don't really even have to represent the brand per se. You have to represent the hobby shop. So if you're racing in, let's say, Florida area, there must be a few hobby shops in Florida. You go to the race wearing that hobby shop shirt, not like an AE shirt.
Yeah.
So that's already something that maybe your hobby shop would be interested in if you are a good ambassador or so on. So I think people think wrong where it's always like you have to get like that 25 sponsorship straight from TLR or AK or whatever. I think that's the wrong attitude. Like even in Finland, if we look at it, there's a very small amount of factory drivers, and I don't know any factory driver in Finland who doesn't have a full sponsorship. Everything free from that brand. So that's kind of like the thing. Like in Finland, there isn't a thing as a 50% sponsorship from a brand straight on.
Yeah. It's just you are either a factory team driver or you are not.
Yeah, you're a factory driver, or then you're a like, because we have distributors. So distributors also do the sponsoring. Like, hey, you're a team associated Finland driver, for example. And
Mhm.
like I know brands do that where if the hobby shops ask like, hey, we have a fast guy locally, is it possible you give product to this driver through us, kind of thing. Like we sell this many kits, we would like you to help us sponsor a driver. I know two or three drivers who have that here in Finland. Like they sell a brand and they ask the brand, hey, can we sponsor a driver? That's and
Yeah.
a way to get you to be sponsored is to promote the hobby shop, be friends with the hobby shop, do well, all that stuff. So
Yeah. My next question to you goes back to the truggy, because he was asking that because truggies ain't cheap, or truggy tires ain't cheap. Truggy yires ain't cheap. But yeah, my next question was going to be, why exactly do you think that truggies, and by extension other like classes like 8th scale truggy, mini truggy, short course truck, just off, like not really off brand, but like off centered classes in general aren't popular in Europe?
I think it's mostly because everything is under a federation. So there is a shortcut cup in Finland. There are some people with mini truggies and so on. But the thing is, like in America, everything is, let's say free market. So like if you organize a race, you organize it. There's the guy who has the track and organizes it, takes the money, goes home. But in Finland, almost all races, at least for the past few years, we've been sort of trying to get away from this as well because there are some restrictions to it. So almost all races have this thing where they're licensed under the federation. So that means that there has to be a race director who has a license to do race directing. So these would be like basically what I'm saying is all of our races are nationals, like official nationals. We have national series and stuff like that. So you have to have tech, and the person doing tech has to have a license that from the federation, and then you need a head of uh, the race director, and then you need like the head of the judges or whatever, and then you need at least two judges, and then you need the guy who makes sure the track is safe. So you need pretty much seven people to organize a race, and all of these seven people need to have a certain license to do these things.
So they basically need to know what
So,
they're doing.
sorry?
They need to know what they're doing basically.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing. Like when we have a race, it needs quite a lot of people. So that is a bad thing for those who want to go to race just to race for
Just
a
to have
few
fun.
events and just to have fun. And the thing is, like, if we wanted to have more classes added to that would require more time use, maybe even like 2 day events, more people, so on. So we kind of have like kind of need to have like what is the most important thing here. And then we have had the system where EFRA sort of says like this is an EFRA regulated class, like 8 scale buggy, and this is an EFRA regulated class like 10 scale buggy and two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. So that is that kind of is the main reason I'd say is that there is a very strong mindset that the federations control what we do, and then we work through that. In most scenarios it's good because that guarantees us that the organization is at a certain level always. But then there's the downsides where if someone just wants to have a race, they need to have all the licenses, all that, and so on. And I don't think it's like as bad as it is in Finland in many countries. But the reason why it's like this in Finland is because we basically belong to the Finnish organization uh, AKK Motorsports, which is directly under FIA. So we are not under EFRA,
Oh, okay.
we are under FIA, which is basically same as Formula One and rallying and so on. So the rules come from all the way down there.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah. So other countries don't have as much restrictions, but the thing is that because most racing in Europe is under federations, it's somewhat like planned like ahead. There isn't much, randomness around that thing. And I think that's one reason, like, basically because here, like, it would be really difficult to be like, hey, I'm just gonna pop up a series where everyone races mini truckies. In America, that might actually work because there isn't any precedent. It's a very like random, like everything happens anywhere. Some race has open practice, some race doesn't. But in Finland and in most of Europe, it's much more coherent.
Okay. And that's another question that came up from Endos, another friend of mine, is it true that slicks negatively affect hobby shops in quotes? I'm not sure what you mean.
Um, well, I think the point is that the tires wear slower, but I don't. It's hard to say really. I don't
Well,
think like it's kind of a it is kind of a weird thing to be honest because it's not easier for the customer, but the hobby shop still get less money. So it's like worse for both, but it's faster on track, so you kind of have to do it.
also, it's kind of, well, it's not just, I wouldn't say it's worse for drivers because at least it depends on the track. Like, for example, the track that I go to, there are certain, They're, if they're doing it, their track to the point in which you need to like burn in tires completely, like at my local shop, hobby shop or hobby track, then yeah, it's kind of an issue for beginners. But for the hobby shop, it's good because those tires wear out a lot quicker. But if you're going to like Beach RC, all you really need to do is scuff in some J Concept silvers and you're good.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue I have with slicks is that it's so it's so much more narrow, like where they work, that you kind of never know, like
There's a
never
lot of,
know if there's gonna be great or not.
you never really know which compound. It's more of a guessing game, basically.
Yeah, and it's kind of like asphalt racing. Like F1 is F1, for example. Like there's so much, like everything is about the tires, and that's because you only have the rubber and the asphalt kind of thing. But in off road, it doesn't really matter what rubber you have as long as there's really high pins.
Yeah.
Like motocross, like doesn't matter if the rubber is a little bit off. You still have the pins, and it's gonna be digging into the dirt. But the more contact patch you get, the more it's about the chemical grip, the compound of the tire, what the track is like. And it's crazy because it even matters like if you use, like you could be on your home track testing out different sauces and you're like, okay, this is the best tire sauce. And then you go to another track and it's not the best, but another brand is best because other people use it more there.
Yeah. Like
So
for
it's
example, FDJ is really popular at Beach RC. SXT is really popular at the Yard down in Columbus.
Yeah, and it might actually be that if both tracks were like you can only use this like this brand, that brand would after that then be the best brand of the more different brands. And that's only because when the rubber gets like smoothed into the dirt and the the sauce in the rubber is the same, it sticks to itself better than it sticks to something else. And
Yeah.
in F1, where when they were two different tire manufacturers, they did this on purpose. So they added some stuff to the tire that they knew would make the other brand's tire more slippery.
Mm.
So you can do that, and it's just like chemical systems and what type of rubber they're using, and do they use a lot of synthetic, and what kind of synthetic rubber they use. So
Also, speaking of tire compounds, just for the record, it's really not good for you at all. It's really bad in terms of
yeah,
chemical compound.
Yeah, it's it definitely, and the saucing, like all of that, the fumes you get from there, definitely not healthy.
It's not good
So
for you at all.
yeah,
But yeah, Greg, he's from Sweden, by the way, or yeah, Sweden. He said his hobby shop's main source of revenue is tires. They're doing it wrong.
yeah, that's one thing that is hard to say because here in Finland we've been doing it. We've been doing control tires for 2.5 years now.
No
So
way.
for the eight
Sorry,
scale,
Greg.
um, so for 8 scale national series, we have control tire, and the issue with it is that it's obviously uh, cheaper than having open tire because you only need to have that one tire, and when it runs out, you buy another set. But then the issue is that if it wears out even a little bit too quick, people are gonna get pissed at you because you chose the wrong tire or whatever. So it's kind of like people don't know better. It's an annoying situation, but I think control tire has been working really well for us. It's much easier, you don't have to test tires; you just put them on and drive. And some hobby shops were worrying about this, like affecting revenue. But yeah, like Greg said, tires shouldn't be the main source of revenue. Like the main source of revenue has to be parts, like 100%. Like the kits, like how much you get from a kit is ridiculous. Like most of the kits you sell at 10-20% profit to your like regular customers. It's like ridiculously low. And then the parts are what you sell like 50% profit mostly.
Yeah.
So that's the part because tires the profit margins are good, but it's like it's hard because if there is a track that doesn't wear tires, then you don't make any money from it. So
Yeah.
the parts are the absolute best source, and obviously you shouldn't like you. I think it's almost impossible to make a hobby shop that doesn't sell RTRs at this point.
It's
It's
just too
just too
big of a
difficult.
market,
Yeah, it's and like the racing market is like ridiculously small.
at least for now.
Yeah, I hope it gets bigger, but it's difficult for sure.
Yeah. I was also gonna ask, what brands have you actually run in the past other than Maiko and JQ? So I remember you mentioned in our last video that we did together was that you ran Associated.
Yeah, I ran associated from 2020 to end of 2021, so 2 years. And for 8 scale, I ran X-ray for my first year in 2009. Then I ran JQ from 2010 to 2019. That's when JQ was quite almost 10 years, and then now Mayako for the past 1.5 years. But I ran a lot of different brands on 10 scale. I used to run X-Ray for touring cars. Then I ran mm, Durango for a bit
You ran
for
Durango?
yeah, for 4-wheel drive 10 scale.
It's been a while
Uh,
since I heard that name.
yeah, and then I ran. What else did I run? Um, I think after Durango, I ran Team C for a
I
while.
don't know what that is.
Yeah, uh, I ran actually short course truck because that at that time. Oh yeah, I ran a 2-wheel drive Durango short course truck too because there was a time I think this was like 2013, 14, somewhere around there.
hmm
Um, in Finland, during the winter, short course truck was one of the most popular classes, like 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, that's I entirely credit that to either the Slash or more specifically URC or Ultimate RC with the Ultimate RC forums talking about slashes Because if you look at some of their old videos, they have like he used to be bigger than what Mark San Maria is now in
Yeah,
terms of
I
like
don't, I don't. It's hard to say why it got so big. I think it got so big because Shalasses became a thing, and then other brands were like, "Hey, we're gonna make short course trucks too." So then everyone sort of started selling them.
yeah.
I remember Durango in Finland was huge at that time because they had a really good distributor. It's actually the same guys who I kind of work for now. So yeah, I used to run Durango tool drive then, and the full drive, well, tool drive, short course truck and full drive buggy. After that, I ran Team C full drive, short course, and Team C full drive buggy. It was weird because normally tool drive is more popular, but in Finland it was always the opposite. Full drive was more popular
It's kind of how
in just buggy, but
I
in
was about to
short
say. It's
course truck
kind of
it
like
was
how it
different.
is. I was about to say it's kind of like how it is here, but no, two-wheel drive is definitely more popular here.
Yeah. So yeah, tool drive. Then after Team C, I ran Yokomo for a year. Um, I ran. I That was actually the year I went to EOS for the first time, and then after Yokomo, I ran Schumacher. I ran that for 2 years actually. Oh no, I know I didn't. I ran it for 1 year only.
Hmm.
Then I ran PR Racing
I know
for
about that then.
yeah PR Racing. I ran the Tour Drive. I'm very actually disappointed because the Tour Drive of PR Racing was an amazing car. The issue was that they just didn't listen about anything. Like you said, hey, this is wrong. They just didn't care.
Hmm.
Uh, like I think I don't know what was their like business plan or whatever. But yeah, that definitely didn't work out. I mean, they even paid for some of my trips, so it was good. It was a good deal with them. Like they paid for some of my travel, and I got to race a lot. I made the B main at the US, never made the A with it. I was really close, like really close to the Euros A main with PR, but
Back in
didn't make it.
2013 or
No, this was already 2016, 17.
2016,
So I,
17. So did they? I wonder if they streamed it. I want to put that up. Maybe, maybe not. Who
Uh,
knows?
I don't know. It's just a while ago. So yeah, I think from 2012 I ran Durango, 2013 Team C, 2014 Yokomo, 2015 Schumacher, 2016 PR. Yeah, that's pretty much.
So you're Mr.
Or
Worldwide for European brands.
yeah. I actually ran quite a lot. The only brand I've never ran is well, techno I never ran myself. I've driven a lot of technos because one of our good buddies had a techno. I always helped him with setup. I ran his car a lot. So
That's actually that's
S
actually one of the
works, and
questions. Sorry to cut you off,
yeah.
but that's actually one of the questions I had
Oh
here.
yeah.
Is
It
techno
was
popular over there?
it was really popular during when I said the short course truck was popular. So 2012, 13, 14, I think. That's when techno was like actually popular. Like there was many kits sold, but all were short course trucks. No one drove like e-buggy or buggy. I think there is still one techno running 8 scale, just like one guy who I don't know where he orders it from,
Hmm.
but I think he's been running the same car for a while.
Uh, so
So yeah, techno. But to be honest, like I remember this one year we went to Austria. There was like 6 or 7 drivers running techno, and we was wondering with Joseph like, why are all these guys running techno here? And then we went to talk with them, and the guy was like, yeah, I was actually running. Can't remember what the brand was. I was actually running this, but then the the distributor said that he has 8 cars he can give away for free, so just run this. And the guy was like, well, if I get the car for free, he was just like random guy, no, not even a fast driver. And then he said, "Oh, I'm so much slower this car. I'm gonna change next year." So he opted for buying a car instead of running a free techno. And so
Damn, that
I
that might piss off a few people who like techno very much, and
yeah, but
they exist here in force. One of them called me the N word.
really
Yes, that's actually a
okay, but
story.
yeah, that
That's a
would
story in of itself.
yeah. To conclude, like I don't know what it is. Is it just the European style tracks? That is my guess. Like the layout of the car, the way it's designed, it's just not really made for high speed, medium to high grip. Like all of the design choices they've made are kind of fighting against high speed, high grip. And
I've driven.
I think it shows from how Marco could just go to America and win, and in Europe he can sometimes barely make the A like last year. Like sometimes he's fast, no doubt, but
Yeah. Well, I ran an old Techno EB410.2, and eventually I just the track that I ran it on, I just couldn't compete. It was too heavy. It had no like just not enough speed, basically. Then
yeah.
Bronasti actually says, "I love my ET410, but I know it's more of a bastard's racer. If that makes sense, I'm fast with it, but not as smooth as the X-rays."
Yeah, actually, one thing would like to say is, of the technos I've driven, like the 8 scale cars, unfortunately, weren't very good. But the 10 scale four-wheel drive, like that was like amazing. Like we ran on like slippery concrete floor, and I was faster with that techno than with an AE or well, okay, AE four-wheel drive has always been kind of shit. That time, I think it was the 6.4 6.4 or even the 44.3.
Oh, the
But
44.3 was ass.
yeah, I think it was 6.4. 6.4 was at that time, which they were running, and a few guys were running HB, and I made like a I just tried this guy's car, and I made the fastest lap of like the whole month with his techno, while these guys were there every day almost running with their HBs and AEs. So
Yeah,
and the car felt good, like I could do a 5 minute run just from there. So I'm actually really disappointed they didn't continue with that car because I think if they just made it a little bit lighter, rethought the layout a little bit, I think it could have been a really good car. But right now, it doesn't seem like they
I
are
don't think
trying to.
they see 10th scale as like a thing for them right now. I don't know
Yeah,
why, but
yeah,
who knows? Because I saw Ryan Mayfield was running a Losi 4 drive actually,
yeah. I think he's just trying everything right now.
just to
He
see
was
what
trying
works.
AE at one J concepts, right? But yeah, I think the reason why techno isn't popular in Europe, I think, is just the style of tracks, just a too high speed, too high grip. It just doesn't really work the way they've done the car. But I think like now that this isn't an ONMRC podcast and Joseph probably won't listen to this, I can say that I think the Mayako has kind of gone the opposite way, where because we always had an issue with the JQ car that it was really good when it was lower grip. Like kind of like when you went to Thunder Alley with it, it was like magic. Like that car was just like amazing. There was nothing you could do wrong with that car. And even better was DNC, the old DNC at Fear Farm. Like that car was just amazing. Okay, but then now the Mayako, I think. Well, first I'll say the GQ. Like when you went to track like the IBC was like high grip, smooth. It just lacked speed. You had to make the car really dull, and we never got it. We got it okay, but we never got it like good. And then now the Mayako, that's kind of like the opposite. It's like you can make it really good, like magic when it's high grip, but when it's lower grip, it's a little bit. I don't know what it is, but it floats a little. So I think we like Joseph somehow made the car a little bit too calm, a little bit too easy to drive. So for like faster drivers like me and so on, it's like
That sounds
I,
like a That sounds like a good idea for me to get a Mayako then, because I'm a bad driver, or
The
at least
Mayako,
for eighth
the
scale.
thing, the annoying thing about Mayako is that all the customers and the people on the Discord, they're like, "Hey, I bought a Mayako and I finished second at my nationals," and like, it's actually insane how well people are, like regular people are doing with the Mayako. But then it's kind of me and Joseph himself said, and David has said that he kind of, when it's like low grip and really slippery, it's hard to like get on top of the car, and I feel that too. But yeah, it's funny because then for all like the like average level drivers, they've been like, this is the best car I ever driven. And the thing is, it feels good, but it's hard to get it to go fast in those scenarios. But when it's like high grip, it's that car's magic. I mean, I went much faster straight out the gate with the Mayako than the AE. It was actually crazy. I think with the AE, when it was high grip, that car was really good. So but when it was like average medium grip, you just lost a lot of speed and then you never got it back. So
I feel like that's also something I was going to tell you as well. I no longer have the AE eighth scale. I'm switching to a C hub car,
okay, which one?
Kyosho MP10E.
Okay, yeah, Kyosho is an interesting one because it's like I don't understand how it's still so good. Like Kanai has made like a few little tweaks to it, but it's effectively the same geometry as the MP777. Like okay, MP777 had some KPI, but basically it's the same as a what almost 15-year-old car now. Like it's insane how it can still compete so well. I don't know if it's like what it is, but I think the wider rear pivot actually was a good move by him.
I feel like, well, the reason why I wanted to switch is A, because I know a lot of people who run it, B, because
Yeah,
I have a YouTube channel, I need content, and
yeah.
C, I got to drive it, and it was one of the easier. I feel like that's one thing, probably why a lot of people like the Mayako too, is because if a car feels very good, you're probably going to push it a little bit harder, and you're probably going to do a little bit better if you feel more confident.
Oh, 100%. That's 100% the thing. Like I think Joseph was going with the car because like already, mm, what was it? Probably I think it was 2019. Yeah, that was the year we had the RCGP. Already then we knew like the black edition is gonna like that's like gonna go away in the next few years. Like we are releasing a new car. At that time we didn't know it was gonna be a Mayako, but we was like, okay, we're gonna have a new car, and we 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 were like, what do we want from the car? And the issue with the GQ was that we felt it was the fastest car ever, but we just never had the comfort with it. So we kind of all those like the last 2 3 years, like from 2019, 2018, 2020, like all that time, we was looking for ways to get you know uh, it more comfortable. So now we have a car that's like extra comfortable, but then like how to get it really fast, that's been now recently a bit of an issue. And I think like to be honest, it's fast, but you always want more. You always feel like
Yeah.
yeah, there could be a little bit more. And I think like Kyosho is the close. I think for Joseph, like obviously this is my speculation, but I'm pretty sure for Joseph, like the Kyosho was a very big inspiration to him. Like
Mhm.
that's the type of car he wanted to find, like how to make the car like that. And we've often talked like how can it be so good? Even like I think 2019, Joseph drove a Kyosho MP9 TKI2, and he did the same lap as he did, the same 5 minute result as he did with his own car. And with his, he also tried X-Ray and AE and all those cars. And like the Kyosho was still like one of the fastest cars, the TKI 2. it's it's just insane how that's even possible.
I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
Yeah,
Car drive good, I buy it.
yeah. But Kyosho is like, it's a little bit sad that it's a little bit fading away. But of the cars on the market, like Kyosho, Mugen, and I'd say I do have to say Mayako have like the strongest, engineering base. Like when you look at what the car does, why the links are where they are, like those three by far have to make the most sense. Like AE and TLR are really good cars, like fast cars, and people can win with them. But they don't have that type of decider, because when you look at a Kyosho, you see Kanai.
Yeah. You want to see two things that'll make you mildly annoyed?
Sure, let's go
Okay,
ahead.
so we got one from Gains RC. When is the Mayako e-buggy going to release?
It should be soon. It should be like really soon. This summer was what I heard. Uh, like we basically have the car. I wish we'd done a little bit more for the first edition, but we've been testing like so many layouts so far that I think we will have some big updates to come in the future. But the basic layout of the car and the production car will come out in this summer.
And the second one is the Hemi guys saying, bring back stadium trucks, and Truggy is the future.
uh, I think, like I always say this on the podcast, but I do like a lot of classes, but I just think like the issue with RC always has been that we have around, let's say, 30 to 50 guys who can hold an RC radio and drive the car at the end of the radio so well that they could be called world champion at some point. Like there's 30 to 50 guys. Now I'm getting like every single class from RC, okay? So the more classes we have, if we have 50 classes, we have one guy who's that good. If we have
Hmm.
one class, we have 50 guys who's that good. So like that's my thing. Like, do we want to split the skill we have in RC into many different classes just for the sake of it? Or do we want to focus the best drivers on one or two classes and then have the others as, extra classes? Like that's like in motorsports, like full scale, they have F1. Like every single racing driver wants to be either in F1 or in WRC. There isn't like no one wants to be in like WTCC. Nobody wants to be in like V8 supercars unless you are like very very Australian in your
Unless
like
you're very Australian or you want to be a
yeah
NASCAR driver if you're very American.
yeah like that's the thing. Like you either have to have some sort of like this is where I want to be because of I am here. But if you are looking at the world scale, you either want to be in WRC or either want to be in F1. You want to be in those series that are exclusive clubs to the best drivers in the world in that type of racing, and or like Le Mans is one of them as well.
Yeah.
Now the issue with those obviously is that there are much more good drivers than there are spots for the drivers. So they have let's say a positive issue. We have a negative issue where we have very few drivers but a very many classes. Like think about the fact that David Ronefalk, who won both classes at the 10 scale Euros, was it 2017 or 2018? He might not be going to the 10 scale Worlds. So a guy who's a double European champion in 10 scale is not going to the World Championships in 10 scale. You know, like okay, that's not he's. I guess he's still thinking about it, but um, still, like there's a chance he's not going. Like if we focus the calendar so focus the racing so that we could actually have the best guys out there at all times, I think it would be so much better.
Is that the rant for the day?
That's the rant for the day, and that's the main reason why I'm so against Struggy is because Mayfield and Fend and like Rivkin and all these guys spent time on Truggy but no one really gives a shit about it. No, like none of those guys are like, hey, I really want to be DNC Trucker champion. No one's gonna say it. Everyone's gonna say, I want to be, buggy champion of DNC, and that's like Trucky is for everyone, just extra time. And that's my thing about it. I have nothing against Truggy or F1, like the F1 touring car class or pen car, whatever you call it.
Well, I will
All those
say,
classes are cool, but it's like they shouldn't be the class where the top driver spends time.
well, I feel for a lot of people, the extra class is also extra track time.
That's exactly the thing. Like it's not only is it that the brands want you to run it for exposure, it's also that you have to run it because you get track time.
Yeah.
So it's silly.
And for a
It's
lot of
silly. Like
races like DNC, that's a godsend.
yeah, it's absolutely, you have to do it. If you don't run, like you have to run at least two classes. And but like think of the scenario where Lewis Hamilton runs F2 just to get more track time. Like it's
Yeah,
silly. Just so silly.
it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, to Greg asks as well, how the heck did Truggy even come to exist? Did a bunch of guys just slam monster truck on tires on 8-scale buggies and think it was cool? Pretty much.
There used to be a class called Monster Truck, and it used to
Yeah.
be like a filler class. But then people started running it at Roar Nets, and then it kind of formed into Truggy. That's at least what I know about it.
For Henny guy saying he thinks it started with Revo way back in the day. I think that's probably another part of it. Bro Nasty says, I wish 4x4 short course truck had Truggy's popularity. There is actually the same amount of 4x4 short course trucks at North Georgia Shootout. I think there were 3 heats worth, and there's like 4 heats worth of Truggies at North Georgia Shootout. So it was popular, just not all over the place.
Yeah, I think the short course truck went a bit wrong because at least, well, it might be different in America, but in Finland, for example, we used to have that Durango DSC 410, something like that. But it was basically the exact same car as their four-wheel drive buggy. But after the next model was based on the DNX8, which is the 8-scale drive buggy, and Techno did the same thing. So basically, you went from a light car, four-wheel drive car, which had a big body, you could crash it anywhere, and it would still survive somewhat, and you could drive it indoors very well, to a car that's like heavy as hell. You can't really drive it indoors anymore. It's gonna hurt people, so on.
Yeah.
And in Finland for sure that killed a lot of it because we race a lot on like mixed surface. We don't have dirt tracks, we have mixed surface tracks. So I think that killed a lot of the Truggy because they started to be too heavy, too big.
I feel like that's kind of what happened that's what killed off the 4x4 SET from Team Associated, the belt drive one. Well, that and it just wasn't that great of a truck, in my opinion, because it was just really hard to work on. But also, like, it's why a lot of short course trucks or 4x4 short course trucks run with 8th scales these days here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit disappointing in a way because I think that would have been like the perfect beginner class. But now it's kind of like, do you buy a short course truck or do you just straight up buy an 8-scale e-buggy? Like to me, like there is no question about it. Just buy an e-buggy because you can go race with it straight out. It's just as durable as the short course truck, and like there's actually races for it.
Yeah, and well, there's also support for it as well.
Yeah,
both part support and
setup
and it's not. It'll also teach you how to drive better, basically.
Oh, 100%. It's to me like right now what I like. This is my mindset right now. I'm just trying everyone to get an 8-scale e-buggy, like e-truggy. Like I hope like some law like comes to fruition where e-truggy is just banned. But the e-buggy is like the perfect class in my opinion, because you can pretty much put on one of those pickup buddies from an Outcast, and then put on some big tires, like not monster tires, but like bigger tires, and bash it. You know, you can bash with a 8 scale buggy too.
I used to do that with my
But
old Mugen.
yeah, and I think that's why that's gonna be the best angle, because and also one thing is like with a short course truck, it's really hard to race somewhere where there's like really a lot of rocks and so on, because all goes into the steering, and it always gets stuck. Like it
Yeah.
always gets stuck. But for an 8 scale buggy, everything is a little bit bigger, where it actually can handle all that beating.
My next
So
question. Oh, I'm sorry.
that's
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
My next
That's just what I think, like, of how we should get people into the hobby.
my next question was more of a personal one. It's how exactly did you get started in RC, like racing wise?
Yeah, there used to be a track. It was like a mall quite close to us, like 20 minutes from our home. There was a track at a mall. You know, they had kind of the corner of a mall where I guess it was kind of cheap rent then. It was kind of it was quite, there was quite many people going around the mall, but it was kind of a thing where they had already planned to destroy it and put some stuff back on it. So it was kind of a lucky thing in one way, because my dad's very good friend lived like right by the mall, so he often went there, and he used to race like ATVs with this guy. So they were all were into motorsports already, and I at that point I already had RC cars. Like when I was 2 or 3, my neighbor was actually uh, I think he made the A main at the Euros at that time. I think 2002 or 2003 he made the A main at the Euros. So he was living like quite
Right next
like
to you.
almost right next door to us. So we bought a car from him back then. And then this track, actually, this was 2008. So 2003, I got the car. We used to play, like, I used to race it around. We had this field of like gravel field, which is right around that. And we used to make jumps and stuff for it, and we had some pipe to lay out. But then, fast forward to 2008, my dad heard about this track from his friend, and we was like, okay, let's go check it out. And we went there, and then I got really excited about it. I really liked RC from the beginning. And then we bought some new cars, well, used cars. I had a Tamiya um, 501, Tierra 501, I think it was. A bell driven 4-wheel drive buggy. Then we had, then we have, what did we have? We have another touring car. I think it was a Tamiya as well, but they didn't have a touring track, so I never ended up using it. But yeah, pretty much I raced a few local races there. Then we went to another place to race, like during that same winter. And then next summer, like my dad got acquainted with the hobby shop owner that I'm actually kind of working for now too.
Hmm.
He got acquainted with him, and um, then we just bought an 8 scale car for him and started racing. It's it was pretty like simple actually. We found a track, we went in, and like the thing was that my family all along was kind of motorsport oriented. When before I was born, my dad used to rally with his friend. He was the co-driver,
Seems like
and then
in Finland, like motorsport in general is very popular there.
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch like I even have some small memories from like being 4 or 5, I think I was, when Alonso won his world championships, and then
Fernando Alonso.
yeah, that was like 2005, 2006, and then um, yeah, I very vividly remember Kimi Räikkönen when he hit his world championships in 2007. So since I was a kid, I've always been really into all kinds of motorsports. Um, but yeah, RC was kind of a thing. Because I was racing motocross during the same time I started RC, so it was kind of I was racing both. But then I ended up stopping um, motocross and then just started racing RC. I don't know when I. It was at some point I realized that I could actually get good in RC, and then just I gradually kept on getting better and better. But yeah,
Mhm.
the start was quite natural because I was already doing so many different motorsports. Like I had ATVs, I was running motocross, yeah, all kinds of motorsports, and then RC just kind of fit into the picture, and that's something that in the end I ended up choosing as what to do
That's
as
kind of
well.
something I noticed is that not a whole lot of gaming in general. Not a whole lot
No,
of gaming.
yeah, yeah. Like my brother is a huge gamer, and he never was too into RC.
Hmm. Yeah, it's Greg seems says there seems to be a lot of crossover people participating in motocross and RC. That seems to be the case, especially in America, especially on the
Mhm.
west coast of America. If you just look at how their tracks are designed.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's in Finland. It's a little bit more rare. It's interesting how that happened, but the thing was that my dad was involved in so many other motorsports, like rallying and yeah, ATVs, motocross. Well, some he wasn't himself involved in drag racing, but he knew people from drag racing. So it was kind of like RC was just one piece of the puzzle, and that ended up being something that we could afford to do. And I ended up being quite good at it as well. And I remember liking it a lot. Like when I was a kid, I kind of wanted to stop motocross and keep doing RC.
Hmm. Yeah, Bernasti says I'm pretty huge into PC gaming as well as RC racing. It feels like it's in the same area sometimes. I would kind of wish it was because more people would, I guess, more people would be getting into it. I kind of hope that VRC would kind of pop off when people start to realize, hey, it's a simulation,
Mhm.
and sim games were like really big.
Yeah, it's difficult really because for people it's different. For some, because especially in Finland, for some people it's about building the cars, the engineering side of it. They are like almost every other person who races RC cars is an engineer here. So that's a big thing. Like they are an engineer and they want something to tinker on. That's a very big thing I've
Yeah,
noticed. And for younger people, it's kind of like a hobby thing. And to me, it's weird because what you said is actually, at least what I've seen true, is that a lot of people who don't play games actually then end up driving RC. Like people who play games kind of just play games or start like FPV is something that people do after playing games. I've noticed my brother, for example, he liked like the drones, but he likes gaming and he never really was too into cars.
mm. Yeah, that's another thing. I see a lot of people who are usually it's when they're into cars is when they get into RC as a whole. More so drifting and bashing though, especially drifting.
Yeah, yeah. Drifting is one thing where when they are like I don't know what you call it, tuner, car tuning, that's
Tuner
type of
car
stuff.
culture, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't. Thing is, I can't be really into tuner car culture here because in Atlanta you have a bunch of takeover meets, and they're just like, "I'm gonna shut down a highway and do one wheel peels in my V6 Charger," and I'm just like,
yeah, yeah. And I think RC is the one reason I do like RC. It is in the end it's quite affordable. You don't have to. earn a lot to fully compete in RC. You can be a Finnish champion with spending maybe 1,500, 2,000 a year. You know, it's
That's
like when you say it like that, okay, yeah, it sounds a lot, but like when the other option, like he says, is 100k on a full scale car, it's a lot less.
yeah. Endos RC says I play VRC because I can't afford half the cars. I actually know him.
Yeah,
He's I think he's still in high school.
yeah, that's for younger people. Obviously, it is more difficult. Like if you're close to a track, it gets so much more cheap because like most of the cost is actually going to the track and going to races and so on. Like the cars itself, like after the initial investment, keeping them up isn't that expensive, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, takeovers are dumb. Most of the guys don't know anything. Yep, Miami guys. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, another question I had, particularly about well, actually, this is a question that was from a little bit ago. Is Greg asking, what do you think the reason X-Ray is offering both C-Hub and pillow ball front ends for their XB23?
Actually, I think it's because a lot of the team drivers already tried it, went through the phase of trying it, and it didn't really work out.
The pillow
So
balls or the C-Hubs?
the C hub. So the pillow ball is what everyone pretty much uses.
Uh,
So what I think the reason why they're giving it out is just to offer something different to the market. I think it's just about marketing, and they also have this thing where they get money from the European Union, uh, and
what?
yeah, like X-Ray gets money or funding from the European Union because they are the only European company producing radio controlled vehicles in Europe. So they have set guidelines that they have to fulfill to get that support. So they have to release a new car every year, and that's also why they have to trademark some of their designs, like revolutionary, blah blah blah, like luxury, blah blah blah, like
That
to make it look like it's new and innovative. So that's one more reason for them to get the funding from Europe. Like these guys probably have tens of millions worth of the CNC machines and stuff in their factory, and they
so
obviously don't do just RC cars, but the RC cars they get
so
funding on.
that's why they do yearly releases, not just
Well,
as
that
nickel or
that
dime me.
yeah, I mean it is a little bit that they get more money, but that for sure, they do need to do, and also like when you go to the factory, there's like every single little thing is done by the EU standards, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot of it is that, and it, in the end, it's a good thing for Europe, to be honest. But for Americans, it's probably a little bit hard to know like why they're doing stuff like some
I
stuff. But yeah,
that's news to me. I did not know that they got
yeah,
support from EU. Yeah,
yeah,
but
and also like I don't know how public information this is. You can look it up in Google, but right next to this building is one of the biggest what you call this um, rocket system slash weapon manufacturers in Europe, right
ooh,
next to the street. So, and when you have millions worth of CNC machines and high end equipment in your house, well, you can connect one to one. Like maybe they have something to do with the guys across the street.
maybe, possibly. Who knows? I'm not gonna say because I don't want to get taken down by YouTube. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's see. The Apple of RC. No, that's Traxxas. Let's see. Where did the name Mayako come from Hemi guys?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say. Joseph will get mad, but it's just I guess it sounded good. That's what I remember is we was thinking of names because we was gonna release a tire brand, so we was thinking of names for the tire brand, and then he came up with uh, Mayako at some point, and it was supposed to be for a tire brand, I think, but then it ended up being Mayako the car, I think. But I don't know
Okay.
how he came up. I guess it just sounded good.
I mean, honestly, it does, but like, I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's
game.
just it doesn't mean anything. That's all I
Okay.
know. That's what I know.
Also, at Tech, I think this is a guy from Sweden. I used to say that people are new to RC, but it don't matter what car if it's the cheapest, but more about to get in the hobby and have fun. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also like if you're an entry level racer, as long as you have some sort of support. Like if you're the only one running one car, that's never a good. Like you could buy a Kyosho, but if you're the only one running a Kyosho at your track, it's not gonna be the greatest car. You know,
Yeah,
if everyone's running a Team C at your track, it's probably the best to get a Team C. Or it's not really about what brand, it's what you got locally. That's at least in my opinion always been the best.
that kind of also leads me to my next question: is why do you think, specifically with Kyosho, why do you think that they stopped making 10 scales?
I think it's just sales.
Just
Like
sales?
too much cost. Yeah, it's the same thing as Tamiya left. Tamiya left racing altogether. It's that if you look at the revenue that Kyosho gets and think how many 10 scale kits they sell, it doesn't really make any sense to keep making them. Like in 10 scale also, they didn't have a designer, they didn't have any prestige. Yeah, they have a few world championships, but that's a long time ago. Nobody thinks their cars are that great in 10 scale. But 8 scale, they have the platform that's won the worlds more than all the other brands combined, I think, at this point.
They got that
Uh,
going for them, definitely.
and then they got QnA. And Joseph has said this many times, but I think Kyosho is gonna go away when Kanai goes away. When Kanai retires, Kyosho is just gonna stop. And
Mm.
the Kyosho 10 scale cars weren't bad; they were really good cars. But it's just that they didn't have enough of a market share where it really was worth it to continue them. Like they were probably making a loss doing them.
Mm. That makes sense because I remember I saw Kyosho's going for sale for like $299 on AMA, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy one of those.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. Didn't Kyosho get what? I'm gonna
bankrupted. I'm guessing.
I'm hoping bankrupted because I'm not allowed to say that word on YouTube either.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that why?
so Kyosho, yeah. So Kyosho in Japan, the way it works is I don't think places go bankrupt, but as long as they're big enough, they don't go bankrupt. So what happened was the bank bought Kyosho out. So the bank was like,
Uh,
okay, we're gonna buy you out. Then Kyosho was sold to one of the biggest, like, I don't know what they do. Is it like anime toys? I'm blanking on the name, but it was like a very big like organization that sells like anime toys and all kinds of like Japanese, you know, figures and so on.
mm,
And bank sold Kyosho to that company. Yeah, Surugaya. Yeah,
who you got? Oh, you're watching
yeah.
this. You're watching the strat too. Okay.
Yeah, I was what. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think Cac Clappen is a
He's in
lot.
the.
It's in an RC Discord. He's very active there. So
Yeah, I've
yeah.
seen him a
So
couple times. Yeah.
Surugaya is where this. He probably knows the story better than I do. But yeah. Basically, they got sold there, and then when they had to cut stuff down, they pretty much cut everything off, and they don't really have factory drivers like. Lots is paid from America. Savoia is paid from France, and well, Figueredo Stad is one of the biggest distributors in South Europe. So
Okay.
they don't really have any sponsored drivers.
Speaking of traveling, was a I'm sorry. Do you have any plans to like travel like once you're done with school at the very least, or do you have any plans to travel to like the United States to race, or are you probably just gonna stay in Europe?
Um, I I don't know yet. I would really like to come over. AMS would probably be the best race to come over, but yeah, mostly gonna be in Europe. I'm leaving to Germany in a week for the e-buggy Euros, and then at the end of the summer, going to the Nitro Euros. But apart from that, I don't know yet. It really depends. This gonna be school starting again in the fall, so it's gonna be
That's
hard to say really.
that's gonna be fun for both of us.
Yeah, it's just I think I've noticed like last weekend at the nationals, I driving wise I did like really bad. Like it, I don't know. I don't really know what to do right now because I don't. It's impossible for me to get a lot of track time doing all the things I do, and like I don't have a track currently. I'm trying to get all the tools available to build one here where I'm living.
Mhm.
I mean, we have a space for the track, and I could just go ahead and put some pipes on and so on, but it's gonna be hard to make that happen in like quickly. So
You
so
want to
much
do it
stuff to
right,
do.
basically.
Yeah, I would like to do it right because then if you just do it, then people are gonna be like, okay, we have a track, let's not do anything about it.
Yeah,
So,
because I actually
um,
am planning. This is something I was gonna say later on, but I'll say it now. I'm actually planning to go to not Europe. I guess Europe. It's UK.
yeah,
Um,
it's still Europe. It's just
it's
not the
still
EU.
it's not in the EU anymore.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm going to the UK next year for a family vacation, and I was gonna check out some tracks. I was trying to find my trying to find some like actual options to travel. I guess you could say, because I know public
yeah,
transport is actually a thing there.
yeah, yeah,
Like where I live, you need a car to go everywhere. There's nothing else unless you live in New
yeah.
York or any of the big cities.
Yeah. Yeah, UK is quite good. UK has a lot of tracks, but it depends where you go.
Right. So yeah, I think I covered most everything that I at least had on my notes. Did you have any
Yeah.
questions for me, anything like that? Because I know it's pretty late for you as well. It's like what?
Yeah, it's almost 12, but
It's almost
yeah,
12.
I had to get some stuff done before. Yeah. I think yeah, actually the comment there is actually good. You should definitely do a podcast with or episode with what is it called? It's the fast lap or last lap or some extra lap podcast. That's what it's
Extra
called.
Lap Podcast? Who's that?
If yeah,
I don't know.
those that's a podcast from UK. They talk mostly about 10 scale and it's Aiden Burke I think is one who
Oh,
hosts
link
it.
up with Aiden. Oh, Aiden Burke. Yeah, I think I know who he is.
Yeah. So those guys actually those guys know a lot more about like the 10 scale scene in Europe. I'm actually it's weird. I mean I am European, but I'm much more up to date with the American scene just by being like hanging out so much with Lefty and talking about it so much. Uh, so yeah, but I think this summer it's gonna be a little bit different because I finally get to meet people again. It's been a while. Like last time I saw people was it's already a year ago at the World's warm up last year.
Yeah.
So
Not.
yeah, it's yeah.
I
I
was,
I do hope I could go to America because I do know that people want me to go, so that would also
oh,
be good to meet people.
that does remind me. Why do they call you Arrogant Max?
That's Keenan came up with that because someone there was I don't know if it was one or two guys who messaged him after a podcast like why is Max so arrogant?
Oh dear.
So then then he ended up calling me arrogant Max. So that is that is where that came from. But I think it's just that I do have a little bit of a cocky attitude sometimes. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Greg D, professor of everything as well. Yeah.
yeah, that's my new name. I like Professor of Everything because it kind of covers both ends. You know, like that sounds arrogant as hell, but
Do you want to
uh,
see what my headline was?
what was your headline?
Haha, funny roach man.
Yeah, can I do mine now? I
Yes, you
need
can.
people to see how to. I don't know how to
Uh,
use this.
Go to brand theme. There you go. Show headlines.
Okay, I'll save it for some other time.
Okay.
Oh, it's here.
You found it?
Yeah. How many subscribers do you have now?
Let's see. I'm at 4,380.
Dude, you're crossing almost 5,000.
I'm hoping to get there by the end of the year, but with school coming up soon, probably not going to be able to upload as often because I'll be going to
Yeah,
school like every single day, except for like weekends.
yeah.
Yeah, same with Ronnie. Kenny helped me out a ton. Yeah. Also, that reminds me, how did out of the states in the United States, between California and Florida, which do you think has a bigger RC scene?
Oh my God, that's a difficult one. You would expect Texas, but Texas is really quiet for some reason. I don't know why, but I think it's just like so huge distances. I've heard like Seattle have quite a big scene in 8 scale. Was it Seattle? Yeah, maybe Washington or Seattle. Some of those. Um, but definitely in the Midwest.
Is where most of the racing is.
Yeah, that's very busy almost all the time. Georgia is actually quite busy too, from what I've heard. But
Georgia, it's hard to say because Georgia has like there are like three main tracks in Georgia. There's Loganville RC Complex,
yeah,
Phil Hurd, and the Yard Hobbiton Columbus. It's two 8 skill tracks and one 10 skill track. But
yeah,
those tracks are hella popular for like
yeah,
somehow, and I don't know how. There are
yeah,
like other tracks that have opened up in the past, like the Barn. The Barn's trying to make a comeback, I know, but due to some, let's call it RC drama between some of the racers there, I'm not 100% sure if it can do it. I want it to really badly, but who knows?
yeah. It's difficult. I actually feel like Europe has quite a bit uh, more tracks than America. Like for us, even in Finland, we are 5 million people. So I guess it's the size. Like our country is the size of Colorado. I think Colorado was like almost the exact same amount of people.
Yeah.
That's not a big country, but we have more than well, we have 4 tracks for the national series, and we still have 4 tracks for the unofficial national series.
Why the? Also, there's Australia as well.
Yeah,
They have a pretty good. Actually, I think you said in one of the questions that I asked on NNRC, like whether or not Gas Truck could make a comeback, it would be in Australia, but they don't run Gas Truck at all.
yeah, yeah. That's one thing also. Like, uh, you would need to have a certain type of track to make gas truck work.
Yeah, yeah. So Gaines says Florida all the way. Yeah, Cade, yours should be the ASMR representative RC. No, because I sound like a parrot with leprosy. Israel have one of each. Oh yeah, right. Cass, he's from Israel, or Israel. 1/8 scale, 1/10 scale track.
You have quite a wide audience. You have one from like people from Europe. You have people from the Middle East.
It's weird. I've seen people from like for I think the weirdest country that I saw people watching from was from Russia. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I live like 30 kilometers away from Russia.
Oh, have fun with that.
Yeah, they're actually building a wall there for some reason. I don't know why.
I can't imagine why they do that.
Yeah,
Oh dear.
it's not even a wall. It's like a little fence. I guess it's for immigration if there's like Russian people running over.
Hmm.
But
Well, I've had enough of walls for the last 4 years.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it's a 1/10 scale, 1/8 scale, and 1/5 scale, and on road track, one of each in Israel.
yeah. But Israel isn't that big. Well, I don't know these days, but
Yeah,
it's that like we have quite actually. It's crazy how big our RC scene is, like relative to how many people we have. Because imagine your state had a state championship in all classes. In all classes you could imagine, you have a state
yeah,
championship that's official, and there's at least like 30 entries per class. You know,
yeah. It's
like
it's, it's kind of weird. It's kind of. It's nice to see though.
yeah, yeah, and for us, we feel like it's a bad scenario. We feel like it's a bad situation.
But yeah,
The only thing that's impressive about America is how many people go to these big races. Then, like you might have like 500-600 people making it to one of these big races.
yeah. BJ just asked, "What do you think about setting up RC exhibitions at full scale events?"
Yeah, so I've been actually trying to get this done. I doubt it's gonna happen this year. So in Finland, there's the WRC race, one of the WRC races, and believe it or not, that's the uh, biggest event in Finland. So there's over 200,000, I think 250,000 visitors yearly,
Hmm.
individual visitors. So that's like the biggest event uh, in Finland by any means. So luckily, that is organized by the same federation that obviously we are under. RC Racing is under,
Hmm.
and they've asked us to have an RC track there. But the issue is just to get it made. Get a track, get us first organize a spot, then get the track there, then get the people there, then get people to organize it. Like we have a chance to do it. It's just that people would need to step up. Like I would really like to do it, but it's just like can't do it alone. It's no way I can do it alone.
Yeah.
So we could
It's a,
get. I remember a lot. It happened once. It happened in 2011. It happened then, and it was amazing. It was like a really, really, really big thing. Like there was thousands of people watching at best. RC cars going on the track, but it's just the issue is that it's hard to get money from it, or almost impossible to get money from it. And
and that's what
people
a lot
won't
of
do
people.
stuff for, yeah, people don't
Yeah.
do stuff for free.
Yeah. Unless they, well, actually, not even if they just really enjoy it, they just do it because money.
Yeah, and I mean, there's an extent of like if you already had a track and you wanted to do it, for like just fix the track and maybe be there for a day to organize a race, that's fine. Like people can manage that. But to be there for a week to build the track, build everything, and then tear it apart the next week, it's too much commitment from a lot of people.
I know there's one track up in, I think it's Ontario, Canada, that's built right next to a drag strip. From, I think I've seen it on Netcruiser RC. Have you heard of Netcruiser RC?
No, I don't.
Well, he's another RC YouTuber in Canada, and he does a lot of racing up there. And I know that one of the tracks was built next to a drag strip. I don't remember exactly which one it was called.
Okay. Yeah, it's difficult, like because the scene is still too small. Like there isn't enough people who love RC enough to do stuff for free, and yeah,
It's hard. It's hard to do
It's
it for
it's
yeah.
really hard, and like it's always like people have like small like battles inside the scene, like I don't want
Like
that
that
guy to do well, and then
like
it's
that
like
drama I
people,
was talking about with the barn, definitely.
yeah, yeah. I have no clue how to pronounce Kyosho, but I say
That's
Kyosho.
I say Kyosho too. I know some people say Kyosho and it makes me itch.
Yeah, like Kyosho.
Kyosho. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Also,
that sounds most Japanese.
yeah. Also, I think Andos RC asks, have either of you spoken to Mark Santa Maria in person? I have.
Never actually. I never met him.
I met him at Wicked Weekend back in 2022, and I actually had him in a video of mine about how to get into RC on a budget. And that's actually another thing I'm doing well, not right now at this moment, but one of the videos I'm working on now is different options that you can do. And that's actually, I'm probably going to put you in this video as well.
Okay, that's sweet. Have you what are the videos you've been doing recently?
Um, pretty
I
much
saw the one you did. I saw you did one the Europe versus America.
Europe versus US did pretty well. One of the thing I did another history video about Schumacher. I've been cataloging my runs from from for the Roar Nationals coming up in August. I also did one for the North Georgia Shootout when I met Lefty when he told me to run Sportsman because I would have won. I don't trophy chase. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Lefty told you to sandbag.
He basically told me to sandbag. Well, not that. His words specifically were, "You would have been in the A grouping if you had run Sportsman."
Yeah. Yeah, but it's always kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, I did pretty well in the in my third qualifier. I think I qualified. I would if my third qualifier reflected in my other two runs, which was a very slow run and a did not finish. If I had finished my second qualifier, I would have qualified in the A main for intermediate.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of just wish that system just was gone. Like everybody
Went away.
forgot there was sportsmen and intermediate. Like they were like, hey, I'm just go race 8 scale nitro, Like that's was the class. That was
I would kind of wish that was the case too, but actually there's no but there. I kind of just wish that was the case too because I want to see where I am across the board.
Yeah.
Lefty told you to run a pink bean. What a hypocrite. No.
I see Lefty has been selling out recently. Like he's been kind of like the mob has silenced him. He's always like not edgy enough, I think he's becoming corporate.
He's
So
becoming.
you guys need to push him on.
So what you're saying is I have to run pro next time.
Yeah. Yeah. And people in the comments have to be like, Lefty, you aren't edgy enough, okay? I wish okay, I hope Lefty doesn't watch this, and then next podcast you should just comment there like, hey Lefty, you need to be more edgy, So I think that will get to him. He's quite easily persuaded by the comments.
Oh dear. I mean, I am too, but only the positive ones.
Yeah.
Like the only comment that deeply hurt me was so it's the only video I deleted. It was my initial 8 scale tire video, and he said specifically, I usually really like your videos, but this one left me wanting. And I'm like, yeah. I'm gonna redo that one. And that's where the Just the Basics tire video came from.
Yeah. I have had a few negative comments but most of them they have been wrong. I've been I've been relatively wrong, so I've felt okay about that. But
The ones that made me laugh were the ones on. Usually they're on Facebook DMs. I remember the
yeah,
video that I did on dead RC brands, and one of the brands I talked about was HBI, and someone was like, "No, you're not HBI is not dead. They're still making cars." I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's why the video is called Dead-ish.
yeah, yeah.
Also, there's that guy that called me the N-word, but I just trolled him. That was pretty funny. It was
It's
actually it
actually
was
one thing I do want to say is in RC there is like sadly quite a lot of like racism and homophobia especially. It's like that's something that has I've been noticing recently on Facebook especially. Like that's actually it's surprising that that's the only one you've got, to be honest.
Oh, I've gotten more. Well,
Okay.
not specifically with the N word, but I've been called other not so savory words that I can't say on YouTube. But
Yeah.
those ones don't really get to me because I know that they're just crappy people in general.
Yeah, I know that that's kind of like, but it's just that it kind of shows what type of people they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Pretty Caclapen, pretty sure that's just Facebook in general. Yeah.
well true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's weird to see people who own tracks are part of brands be like openly like homophobic or racist on Facebook, like just denounce people because of their race or call people names just because of their race or sexuality or whatever. But
I
yeah,
try to be pack god, but slurs come out at rap speed god, rap god speeds. You don't need to add RC in front of that. Racing in general is full of overly opinionated type A
yeah, that
personality
is
people who
true.
think they know.
That is true. Yeah, that's it's not about like it's not a specific problem to RC. I like to me because like the thing about me is I've met quite a lot of people through RC throughout the years, and most of them are like really really nice people. So then to see like some really sucky ones, it is a little
It
bit
stands
annoying.
out more and it stinks more.
Yeah, yeah. There was some question I wanted to answer, but I don't find it. Let me see.
It was it from Buddy
Oh,
Howell or B Howell?
oh yeah, well, that was one. Yeah, I have raced the Worlds in 2016, DNC in 2018, PMB in 2019, and yeah, that's about it. I done some East Coast race. I did Spring Sting after PMB in 2019, and then did I can't remember some club race. I did doing the same trip as well.
Hmm.
So I've done quite a bit races in America.
Did you
Also, yeah,
like them?
JBRL in Proline in 2019, and also I did the RCGP. And to be honest, like the only issue for me is just that you just like qualifying doesn't matter at all. Like you just go in and qualify, and if you make the A straight, like yeah, you don't have to go to drive to the B, and if you don't, it's weird because in Finland I've like kind of it's really tight between everyone. It's like it's like if you start the main as fifth, it's really hard to win sometimes in Finland because everyone's really tight together.
Yeah.
But in America, it was different because tracks are really bumpy. It's kind of whatever it is, and people make so many mistakes here and there.
North Georgia
Uh,
shootout got really rutted out, like
yeah,
really rutted out.
yeah. And PMB, like the track was so crazy. The Joker lap was there. It was like it was a mess.
It's a lot of wacky things that make it interesting. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do think like the Springs thing was different. That's where I had a bad start, and then I kind of just lost touch of the lead. Well, I did have a flame out too, so that kind of ruined it all. But yeah, that Springs thing was a difficult one for me.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
anyone
there
here
was a
doing the X-ray challenge in Ohio, I need to do that. How hard is that bare floor spot to go fast on? What? I don't know what you mean.
Some of these comments are hard to understand. I do have to be honest. Um, Wait, there was one other question that was a really good one. Let me check. Oh
Which
yeah, Control. It was Basher and Z asked
control?
that.
How
Yeah,
far are we from
Control
it?
tires. It's not that far. It's a little bit.
What time?
12:05. Oh well, for you it's yeah,
It'll
12:05.
be 5:05.
Oh yeah, because you it's different time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are we?
so it has our local track scene has decided to do a control tire race. Do control tire races work at club level? I absolutely think they do. Absolutely think they do. It's like it depends. If you do a race that's just a club race, like midweek or on a weekend, but you know that people are not going to like travel from somewhere else, like control tire makes sense because you don't have to think about, hey, what tire works at this track, like what tires do I need to pack with me. If you don't have the right tires, you don't have to go and buy them. You just go there, you're going to buy a set and that's going to be fine, you know but if it's a race where it's midweek or it's kind of like a weekend race, but everyone goes there from the same area, so everyone knows the track beforehand, then control tire doesn't really make any sense, because like people already have their tires in the bag, they know what they're gonna use, they don't have to
Mhm.
worry about it. But yeah, any like if it's a race where there's at least a few people traveling from somewhere else or haven't visited the track a lot of times or know the tire exactly, then yeah, definitely control tire work at a club
Well, I
level.
know control tires are very popular with spec racing here. Like I know at Masters of Dirt they had control tires. I think it was the Proline Ball Eagle and the S3 compound.
Yeah, yeah, it's a the
Also
way I've
control
done it
sauce.
here in Finland is that the national series has a control tire, but then the open series, we don't basically have any rules, As long as it's an 8 scale car, you're good, no tech, no nothing. So then we have open tires as well. And the idea behind that is if someone just bought a Typhoon from the store, like S3 Typhoon from the store, they can come race with the stock tires if they so want to, That's the idea. Like when you want very, very entry level racing, then you do open tire. When you have like average level racing or high end racing, then you do control tire. That's in my opinion the solution.
Okay. Tire control tires are great for series. Just series gets mad expensive otherwise. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And also the source thing, uh, for indoors it's a little bit different because then you kind of have to sauce. But if you have control tire, in my opinion, you should have control sauce because it actually,
Specifically that no odor one that doesn't kill you.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, but if you have a track that you know is going to be faster with sauce, you have control sauce. And what this does is most likely the other sources aren't actually going to work uh, at all because everyone else is using that one sauce. So the grip, again, the thing I talked about earlier, it's usually gonna fuck up the grip of the other sauce. But what I would suggest actually is drive with pin tires. Driver tires with higher pins or high tread or something else. Because when you have slicks, then the sauce is like you need the sauce absolutely. But um, the as the longer pin or thread you have, the less the sauce is going to help you because what ends up happening is the sauce is going to soften the rubber, the pin is going to fold, and you actually might even lose grip.
Yeah.
So
I know that's what RCRC did back when they were still open is they set their track up to where treads were the way to go.
yeah, that's like the best way to like do things is for okay, I'm gonna be honest, like indoor clay, this is really difficult to do but outdoor this works perfectly. Choose a tire that's very high pin. Oh, well,
Uh-oh.
we went through the time where my camera decided to die. Yeah, but basically for outdoors, choose a tire that has a very high pin, or in general, the thread makes the grip, not um, the
Softness
surface
of the tire.
area of the tire. Yeah, surface area of the tire. So then, even though you sauce, it's not gonna really change the grip level because the pins are what make the grip, not the rubber itself. So that's the best way to go about it.
Okay. Well, I think the camera dying might be a calling.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know you got to get to sleep because it's really Max Mort 2 hour time limit
Yeah,
yet.
it's crazy actually because I don't know how it's so like exact, but it's every time we do a podcast with Keenan too, it's like exactly 2 hours. It's
Got to get that
exactly.
Logitech. Got to get that Logitech camera, bro. It's good.
Yeah, I need to get. They do finally because when I bought this camera, it was so new that they didn't make one of those plug-in things. You know, that you just plug it in and plug it to the wall and it's on forever. So now they finally make it. So I have to get one of those.
Gotta invest. You are a podcast host.
Yeah, I'm an influencer these days. You know.
Greg says I'll bring you a new webcam next time I visit Finland.
You should come to the Nordics. The Nordics are held in Vasa on the 12th. I think it's 11th to 13th of August. So in Vasa, Finland, it's the nicest track I've probably ever been to. Let me check if I have a picture of the track so the people listening to this can also maybe see it.
Okay. Do you want to screen share?
Yeah, I'm just gonna need to find the track.
While he's doing that, if you guys have any more questions, go ahead and throw them in now because we're about to start wrapping up.
Yeah, this is the track. So here is the track
Yeah.
from Vasa. So actually, do you see the mouse?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So this is actually the track that they held the 2011 World Championships for 10 scale off road here on the right hand side.
Okay.
So this is the 8 scale track here on
This is the big boy track.
this is exactly, yeah, the big boy track. So if you are, because I heard some people who was from Sweden or Norway, it's I think it's 11. It's Friday. It starts Friday evening and Saturday morning, so you can still make the ship home.
Okay.
On I think 10th to 13th of August or 11th to 13th of August.
That's the same thing time as the Roar Nats for Dirt Nationals go.
Okay, that's sweet. But yeah, this is absolutely my favorite track of probably all time. Like it probably doesn't show in the photo, but there's quite a bit of height difference here. So it goes up and then it goes down. It's straight from like a rally course.
Oh, is it like counterclockwise or clockwise?
It's clockwise.
Okay.
Yeah, so you ride up the hill and then just as you start, you turn left. It dips back, and yeah, this track is one of my favorites of all time. So
nice. Well, I think that should be about it. I don't think I have anything else on my notes. If you had any questions for me, feel free to ask.
not now. I'm really bad. You know, you've been watching the podcast with the hot race, hot laps things. I suck at those, dude.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, I think that'll be it for today. I really appreciate having you being here, Max, even though it's like past midnight. So get some sleep.
Yeah, I'm good. It's fun to like with Keenan. The podcast feel more official. We've done them so many times, so it's almost like the same thing. But with you, it's like we just getting to know each other a bit, and it's nice just to talk about RC.
Yeah. No, well, that's what we're here for. Just to talk about RC. The next, and just for a teaser of who I have coming next week. Brent Dansford, owner of Beach RC.
Yeah, I spent some time with him too in Italy. Maybe you can ask about it.
I'll ask about it. All
How
right.
was Max in Italy? I have to preface it with I was quite drunk at the time.
Oh dear. Oh yeah, that's right. Drinking age is different.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I'll see you later, Max.
yeah.
You take you take care.
You too, man. It was nice talking to you.
Nice as well.